Welcome to Mental Health Mondays. We are so happy that you are here with us. We're so happy to have our special guest back, Daniel Kinoshita. We're so thankful that he was able to be back with us this week. And before we jump into part two, we want you to put where you are viewing from and your name and where you're viewing from so we can say welcome to you. And Dr. Whyte, always good to see you. We're here for another Mental Health Monday, and we just, want you to share on your social media. Share this link. Invite them now. Say, hey, this is live and it's happening right now. And if you were here last week, let know like how much you enjoyed it. So you're inviting them. So it's great information that will help any marriage, any couple that needs help with their reconnecting, is to help them know why it's important to overdate. And that's what we're going to talk about again. So welcome everyone. We want to say a big welcome to Clint. Clint, you were first this time. You were first. Undisputed. Welcome, Clint. We know you're watching from
Longhorn, Texas.
Nope, Longview, Texas. Longhorn is the that's that college football team, right? Or one of the college teams, I think.
Longview.
Yes, and we have Cherise from Virginia. Welcome. Veronica, always good to see you from Washington State.
Bree from Durham, North Carolina. Shout out.
Our sweet Bree from Durham, North Carolina. Hey, Bree, I'm going to message you this evening. I have something to tell you. I think you'll be excited about it. But I'm going to message you after the broadcast. Right. So Bree here. We have Joyce from Toronto. Welcome, Joyce. Always good to see all of you here. Make sure you share again this link. And we're just excited. We're just excited to be back here with you guys. Always good to talk about mental health topics with all of you. And it's always our hope and our desire that it is just helping you in your journey. But of course, we're not your mental health professional. So we're always encouraging you to seek out a mental health professional in your area, in your state, where you live, because they're going to be the ones that are going to take you to that next level. All right. Well, I don't know about you guys. I had a pretty peaceful Monday. You know how Mondays can be manic?
Yes.
My Monday was peaceful. Was yours peaceful? How was your guys' Monday?
Mine was peaceful. And I gotta say, yesterday, while I was thinking about what to bring home for lunch, I just decided, hey, let me turn it into a date. And so I invited my wife out. I was like, hey, what do you say we get dressed up and, go out to eat, at one of our favorite restaurants? She got all excited. I was like, whoa, this stuff works.
Is that the inspiration because you're about to do a program and interview the author of Overdate? So you were inspired.
Don't tell anyone. But it was awesome. She really just, she was like, it was a great pick-me-up. It was amazing. I was like, yes, this is awesome.
Okay. Everybody wins. That's great. That is really,
thank you, Daniel.
That's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Well, I am going to do what I did last week, Daniel. I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Because I want to know who you are, what kind of mental health professional you are, and just a little bit on how you came together and wrote this book.
Yeah, well, once again, thank you, Atonte. Thank you, Dr. Ricardo, for having me here. I'm very blessed to be here, excited to talk about dating, mental health. And I'm a marriage and family therapist. I was also a pastor for over 20 years. And I am thrilled, excited, beyond measure. I love what I do. I tell my wife every day I wake up and I go to work, and I love working with individuals and couples, in particular couples. I love sharing my personal experience. Like we were talking about last week, if you meet me in therapy, I'm the same person in the therapy room as I am outside on the street, with the exception, as we know, that it's a confidential relationship, right? But I just keep it real. I've been married for 34 years, and to my beautiful wife, Trish, shout out to her, and my cousin Christy, that's with her, probably watching right now. And so it's been a journey, and marriage is not easy. 34 years, and both of you know that. And we're kind of veterans. We're veterans in the field, right? And I think you kind of have to be one to speak about it. And so, as we talked about last week, 50 to 60% of marriages still end up in divorce. Faith-based or not. But one of the interesting statistics, and Dr. Ricardo just mentioned it, is that couples that go on frequent dates, at least once a week. There was a study that came out by the National Marriage Project. They're 20% less likely to get a divorce than those who don't. Isn't that interesting? 20% less if you go on a frequent date, right? And so, yeah, it's pretty amazing, right? And
that is amazing.
So Overdate was birthed out of 34 years of marriage, conversation. Yeah.
Okay, I think
we have a little bit of lag.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, because you froze, Dan. Okay, you're back now. You're back. So.
But yeah, you were citing the statistic about the frequency of dating and it being associated with longevity, and then decreased dating being associated with a correlation with divorce. And it just makes sense.
It does make sense.
It makes sense. I will maybe you want to finish. Was there a point you wanted to finish, Daniel? Can you hear us?
I think there is
hear you now.
something on.
Okay.
Yeah,
he was just okay.
I apologize, guys.
It's okay. Dr. Whyte was just asking, was there a point that you wanted to make on top of that that last statistic that you were sharing? Or you were just, was that the final point with that? Okay. While he gets his
I'm wondering if you guys can. I'm wondering if you can hear me better.
No, it's no better. It's no better with that per se. But anyway, so now while he's getting situated, Sister Atonte, you and Pastor Ivor, you guys have a weekly date.
We do. It's on our weekly date nights are Thursdays. And
like ours. Yeah.
Yeah, yours is too. I know a few others who it's kind of nice at the end of the week like that. But what I like about it, I like how excited my husband gets for it, because he really, I mean, I put it in my calendar, my appointment book, so there's nothing booked past a certain time on Thursday, that's just reserved every week. But he really gets excited, and what I like is he pre-thinks about it. He's mainly the one that plans the dates, which is great because I do some of them. Some of the other things.
You do
No. He plans them.
Well, no, I mean that's awesome. I told you one of the funnest things was we had a contest, and of course I just your creativity just really comes alive.
Yes.
So it's
I don't know if I have energy for the contest. So I'm just like, you do it, and then I'll just come on and we're gonna do it. But what's nice is this is what I share with people, because even on my Instagram story last week, I put on our date night the connection cards that we use, and we normally really those connection cards a night, and we're both answering the question and we're finding out more or just about each other or how we feel about certain things. And those connection cards are really amazing because they're asking questions that we don't typically ask each other. And I have learned more about my husband of 26 years on these date nights through the connection cards than I have just without asking him those questions, because again, the way the cards are written, they're just, I don't know, they're just so unique that the questions you're asking are not your typical questions. And so we've definitely gone deeper into understanding each other through that process. That's what we like to do, but everybody doesn't have to do that. You do what's good for you and your spouse.
While Daniel's getting situated,
Yes.
Just so folk at home don't think that it's just all peaches and, whatever. So of course we've had dates where there's an argument or you get triggered for one reason or another. My trigger is probably when she looks at her phone, right? Well, whatever the case, you ever have an experience where well, you probably can't relate, but like you're so mad you don't want to go on another date, right? And I find that's when it's really important to make it a point to go on another date.
Go.
Because that's the whole point. It's like if you it's like the goal, like something's like attacking you in order for it to be a bad date, and then you say, okay, well now I don't want to date, rather than saying no, let's do it again. Let's talk the issue through, but let's do it again, because it's important that we keep connecting.
Yeah, that's definitely we've had evenings or afternoons like that, and that we mentally had to say, you know what, we're still going on this date. Right? You too, Daniel. You've experienced that too.
Absolutely, and I think that's
we're not the only
is what
one.
you kind of home run. Yeah,
because you're
you guys hit a
basically
home run
committed.
on that. I mean,
Yeah, you have to be committed to this experience and why it's so important. We want to jump into your book, but I was just going to say too that the study that you found that you were just speaking of, I mean, we all know, or the three of us know, that Dr. John Gottman has done a study as well, studying marriages for over 40 years and putting them into two different camps, the masters and the disasters. The masters are the marriages that make it, and they go on weekly date nights. And so it's just proven that it really does help to reconnect you. And it's on a weekly basis. For us, it's every 7 days. I don't want to make this too biblical or anything, but there's something about this, a cycle, this reconnecting time, weekly date nights, because there's so many, as the young people would say, is always lifing. So it's always doing its thing. And so there's all this stress. There's so many things going on that can just tear you apart. And if you don't do it weekly, you go so long, and then you have to reconnect after. You're just putting more stress and garbage in between the connection time. So it's nice to do it weekly so you can reconnect on a weekly basis with your spouse. Okay.
Absolutely. I think Daniel was going to chime in.
Yes, because he wrote a whole book about it.
Yeah, I apologize for the connection and my background. I had to.
It's okay.
Yeah, and I'm at my house today instead of my office, so it's probably why I have a bad connection.
Yeah.
No, you guys nailed it. I mean, home run. The weekly date night is that's the consistency of that, and regardless, I think you were saying, Dr. Ricardo, like even if you're having a bad day, I coach and counsel couples to go like, okay, so our date night is on Monday night, but we're having a bad day today. Well, let's reschedule and we can do it for Tuesday, but just make sure it happens. And that consistency and that repetition and that stick to it is, that's really kind of what it is, because it is a grind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Day in and day out. And anything in life is hard, right? And so, but couples that do very well, they show up, and that's the hardest part, is just showing up, right? Even as we see clients coming into our offices, just to get someone in the door, to me that's a win. So if you can't sit down and, like Atonte, I think you were talking about the cards, those are amazing, right? Those cards. But if I can get the couple, even if they're not connecting with as far as on the emotional level yet, go to a movie. Even if you're just watching a movie, get out, connect.
For sure. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Whatever you and your spouse likes, that, or what connects you two together, or it's just a good time for you both, that's what you want to do. Now, last week we were able to get through your first chapter of your book. You discussed that a little bit. I want to ask you, because chapter 2 is called Attention, Approval, and Support. What is that all about?
Yeah. So attention, approval, and support, that really kind of came about. I remember obviously I'm an MFT. I know Dr. Ricardo's a psychologist, correct?
Psychiatrist.
But we all know basic psychology, Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Very familiar with that.
For those listeners, you have the triangle and, just meeting the basic human needs, food, shelter, emotional connection. So I kind of translated Maslow's hierarchy of needs into for couples and for marriages. And I just call it attention, approval, and support. So how does Atonte get attention? How does she get approval? And how does she get support? How does Dr. Ricardo get attention, approval, and support from your partner? And then that's one of the first homework assignments I have couples do. How would you like to receive attention from me? And in general, we know this, and it's pretty simple, right? So it's not too complicated. And we have the 5 love languages and a lot of other great resources. But I just say, how does your partner want to receive attention from you? When you walk home and you cross through that door, do you want to get a big hug? Do you want to some words of affirmation? Do you need to say like, "Oh, you're the best looking dude I've ever seen"? I don't know what it is, but let's figure that out, and I'll have them write to each other. These are the areas that I would like to receive attention, approval, and support, and then I'll encourage the couple to do one of those areas and try to do it on a daily basis. And Dr. Sue Johnson.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Dr. Sue Johnson, who we're familiar with, who great
love her work.
Said,
emotionally focused therapy.
Yes, emotionally. She said 85% of people who receive regular emotional validation from their partners, they report having a much higher satisfaction than those that don't. And so, and that's really what it comes down to, right? Is if I'm coming home and there's not really nothing to come home to, right? We know how that's filled because we get tired. So like, how can I give my partner attention, approval, and support on a regular?
Yes, I love that. It's reminded me of something that I like to share with clients as well, like getting a PhD in your spouse. That's basically the same concept of what you're them so well. You're getting to know what their needs are, their emotional needs, or what they would like, and just learning them in such a way that you're able better to provide that for them and vice versa. So I love that. Want to remind our audience that you are a part of this conversation. So we're taking your questions. Maybe you have some great comments as well that go along with this. So please put in the chat questions that you'd like to ask to Daniel or to any of us. So yes.
Yeah, and I don't know if the link for the book could be put up,
we'll
just so that people know how to access it.
Yeah. Great point. I just launched my website. It's called kinacademy.org, which is KIN, like my last name, and then academy.org. And I just launched an e-course that goes with the book.
Beautiful.
So, as well as on there, there's a link. It'll be easier. You can link there and get the book. It'll link to Amazon. There's also a second course that's coming out. It's called Relationship Revival. That'll be released in about a week.
Great.
But you can also get the ebook there too. And I apologize, for some reason we're having an issue getting the ebook to you guys. I tried to get it. I guess it's not opening, but
that's okay. But we're going to get this website up. I know our producer is working on it right now, so they'll see that and be able to get linked to all of your materials. So
now just really quickly, what's the advantage of the course over just having the book? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the advantage over the course over the book is literally, as I tell people all the time, you could read the book if you're a fast reader in 30 minutes. And it's really just the basics. And the e-course goes into a lot more detail, and there's a lot of homework assignments. There's quizzes there. There's a video introduction to each part of the book. And so you'll find a lot more detailed explanations of each chapter of the book, and especially it's almost like sitting down in the office with me when you go through the e-course. Although people, when you read the book, I'm kind of talking to them. I was just talking to someone the other day. But to answer your question, Dr. Ricardo, a lot more information, a lot more exercises, quizzes, videos, and it's like sitting down with me.
So it doesn't just stay cerebral, it gets into their life. It makes sure that they're actually applying the concepts.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
That is fantastic. And Cherise, congratulations. She said my husband on a date today. It was great. That is really, really good. And it sounds, you said day, so it sounds like, I don't know if it was this evening or if it was in the middle of the day, but either way, again, your date can look like whatever works for you and your spouse. So that's great. That's very good to hear. Now, there's something. Oh, go ahead, Dr. Whyte. Go ahead.
Well, I think it's just interesting how easy it is to underestimate how impactful providing that feedback is. You know, I don't know. You look at the person and you think they're okay. They don't need to hear this. And how many times have you like given a meaningful, validation or affirmation? That's the word I'm really reaching for. How many times have you provided an affirmation and the person's almost like, I so needed that because I'm feeling so frustrated. So a lot of times we can have this face like everything's okay, but we're carrying around so much stress, doubt, frustration, and then you get a validation, you get an affirmation, and I think it's just so important. What do you guys think?
Oh man, I could talk an hour on that, Dr. Ricardo. That's so, and I imagine you guys could. I hope I'm not the only one, but I don't know if you guys get imposter syndrome, but I get it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've heard of imposter syndrome. I don't even know how I got here. Like, am I really a licensed therapist? Oh my God! Like, how did I don't know if did I really even say anything that was, and I share that with my clients. I am who I am, and I just say like, and the reason I say that, responding to Dr. Ricardo's response, is because my wife is my biggest fan. So sometimes I'll go like, even coming in here, like, I'm nervous, it's like, I'm nervous. I'm always, people think like, because we're therapists or something, like I always say I don't walk on water, but I think I'm a pretty good therapist. But most of the time I have imposter syndrome, and my wife comes along, like you're saying, Ricardo, and just pumps me up, gives me a lot of approval, a lot of support. And
that's beautiful
on a consistent basis. Yeah.
That is beautiful. Okay, I want you to ask your question too. We have a question that I want Daniel to be answered for Veronica. She's asking, could you dive deeper into support? Everyone is different. Is how they feel supported. So she wants you to develop that a little bit more. That part of that chapter.
I think she just answered her own question, because support is going to look different for every person.
Right.
And Veronica, I would encourage you to sit down and, as I say, do the mental gymnastics and think about that. How do I get supported? When do I feel the most supported? And especially when it comes to my partner or my spouse. And then write it down. Sometimes we have to just mind dump. Just put it all on paper, and then find one or two things. Sometimes we want to give, some of us are talkers. I tend to talk too much. So give a couple things that your partner can support you in, and let them know. And then ask them if they can do that every once in a while, and vice versa.
I have an interesting little scenario on that. So I'm enjoying watching Atonte and her husband's Back to the Basics. And so he had done the course, he'd done the training, and now they were at the end. And I guess Sister Tante's job is to make sure he goes slow enough so the audience can keep up. And so at the end, she said, you did a good job. making sure everybody was involved. And you saw him shift. He was like, thank you. It was the wildest thing. It's like it's so easy to not realize how much you guys impact us. But I was like, wow,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
and it's very corrective, right? It's a as we say in therapy, it can be a very corrective experience,
right.
especially if you grew up in a home where you weren't supported, where
Yeah.
you weren't validated, where people criticized you or put you down, and then all of a sudden, like you're talking about Atonte and her husband, and and yeah, it feels good when somebody says something nice about you or supports you,
Mhm.
and maybe you've never had that, and for the audience, a corrective experience is something that went sometimes awful wrong in childhood, and your spouse comes along, brings a healing hand to it or healing words.
But the
Mhm.
point that you're really getting at, it goes back to Sister Atonte's, get a PhD in your spouse and get a PhD in yourself. Like now what Daniel is emphasizing is take that time to make it a point to really try to understand about yourself what works for you, but then also getting clear on what does it for your spouse, as well, like getting really attuned. These are great date activities,
Right. Right.
no distractions, no phone. Tell me about the last time I affirmed you in a meaningful way. Like, oh my goodness, wouldn't that be awesome? Tell me
Oh,
about that. And then vice versa. And this is what worked for me.
Mhm.
Like that, those are some cool things to do. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I really like that homework assignment that you give to your couples because I think and women, but I know speaking on women's side, it's like we're so busy doing so many things, being a mom, being a wife, many are working and all of these things. And sometimes we don't even take the time to say, what do I really need? Like, we don't even know how to express that to our spouse because we're just so busy in that rat race and on that treadmill, just going, going, going. So to have them sit down and to actually think, what do you really need from me? And the same thing for, the husband. I just know that that's such a big thing when they actually come back or they say that to each other. They probably hadn't even sat down to think about it themselves to really know.
And I say this, and I like Dr. Ricardo's opinion on this too. Oh,
Mhm.
one other thing too. I got a note from my wife. Slipped me a note. My partner here. She said, "Kin Academy is spelled KINACADEMY.org." So, Kin Academy,
Okay.
KINACA. Yeah, just to correct. That was from my helper. So I was
Yes, that's your
to follow up on
helpmate. Yes.
Antonte's.
Go ahead.
Yes. To follow up on what Atonte said, and I would love to hear Dr. Ricardo's response on this, is she was talking about from a woman's perspective. I think that's what I heard, and
Yeah.
I joke, and no offense to our species of men, but I say this to men when I'm talking to them and to the ladies. I said, sometimes as men we're dumb as rocks when it comes to emotions. Okay,
I
and
didn't
and
I
I
didn't I didn't say that. Ladies, did we say that? We didn't say that. He said it.
you
I'm
didn't
just
say it,
kidding.
but I say it. And it kind of lets the hot air out of the room, because the truth of the matter is, this is my experience with most of the women that I work with have a much broader emotional bandwidth than the men. And so what I'm talking about is when the women explain to their husbands what they need, is I tell them to spell it out. Don't assume
Mm.
what you said, like they're picking up what you're putting down, because men
Right.
are most of the time, like I said, this is my experience, is they're not always on the same wavelength as a woman as far as what they need in attention, approval, and support. And I often see a lot of couples in conflict. Well, I told them I wanted this, and I said, but did you spell it out to Johnny? And she's like, well, no. And Johnny's in the dark. He's like, I tried to do this. And now all of a sudden they're in a fight again, about what I wanted you to do this and you didn't do that. I don't know, Dr. Ricardo, what do you think?
Well, this is where I would go to the men are from Mars, women are from Venus, model.
Yeah.
In that like it would be the equivalent to saying a person's dumb because they speak a different language.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
you know, like we just say things differently. We speak things differently. And I'm sure all of us want to shatter the myth that men don't feel deeply. Men feel so incredibly deeply.
You do.
And it can and because we mask it, we're so good at masking it. The feeling is, oh, I didn't hurt him just now.
Yeah. Right. Like yes.
Oh, I didn't hurt him. Oh, he's fine. It's okay that I put him down. It's no big deal.
No.
And it is.
You could see it in the, even
is.
if they don't say anything, you can see it in the body language.
It
You can
is.
see just the, no, it's true. It's
I'm
very
sorry, I'm laughing at Clint. He said that is sound advice. Prioritize not being dumb as a rock. now let me clarify this.
Go ahead.
I say this when I have an extreme amount of rapport with couples, so they usually get a kick out of it. It's usually not as an offensive statement. So I think you guys know where I'm going with that. But absolutely, yeah.
Right. Obviously, you're it's a trusted approach with your patient. For me,
right, of course.
I find the therapeutic setting is often hostile to men. It's often hostile. And that's why 9 out of 10 times it's really hard to get a guy into a therapeutic session, because I know obviously this isn't your view. You're just making a joke.
Yes.
But like for a lot of therapists, it's like the therapist and the woman, it's like they pair up and they just abash that man, and then they're shocked why he doesn't want to come back.
What therapy have you been in? What therapist?
Oh my goodness! And then they wonder why they don't want to come back.
I make it a point not to do that.
Well,
because
that's why you guys have clients.
Yes, that's what. Thank you. No, honestly, I do make it. I'm very conscious of that because I am a woman. I'm understanding, but then believe it or not, I understand and feel the male and a therapy setting, even if I'm like, because I'm not dealing with my own relationship, right? Because I'm detached from all of that. I can see it clearly. So I'm just very, very conscious about having a connection with both spouses, not either one. Because it's funny because I was just with a couple this morning, and my first clients this morning, and I completely understood what the wife was saying, but I went the extra mile to make sure that the husband felt like I understood him as well.
Right.
Because I naturally kind of was like thinking, she's right about this, but I wanted him to bring him along and to meet, for them to meet at that space together. So a therapist should be conscious of that.
My tactic, I would say to the woman, look, we got to make this comfortable. We got to make this comfortable so he'll want to come back, And so we would work that out beforehand.
Right, of course.
So that she wouldn't feel, but whatever the case, the bottom line is, Pastor Daniel, I find both men incredibly sophisticated and I find women incredibly sophisticated. And sometimes it looks different. But they're both incredibly sophisticated. But to the point of what you've written, we underestimate the power of affirmation. We underestimate it.
Absolutely.
And it's unfortunate.
Absolutely. And that alliance, I think, is so important as far as to be able to extrapolate from the men, because like you're saying is like, I think there's two sides of it too, because I consider myself a very emotional man, and I got most of my emotional bandwidth from my relationship with my mother. So we have, it takes all kinds, right? But I think to Atonte's point, I think to both of your points actually is like it depends on how is the couple coming into the session too. Like who's the identified patient? Are they dragging the man in there? Or are they dragging the woman? Most of the time they're dragging the men in there, and I think that's where you're coming from, Dr. Ricardo, is like the men sometimes are feeling beat up already coming in, and they're not, in general, not used to being in therapy. Right. So, but the attention, the approval, and support is how do I how do I communicate, whether I'm a woman or a man, to my spouse? What makes them tick? And it doesn't have to be too deep, because most people have the answer, because as we know, we're not the expert of the couples that are coming in. You guys are the experts. Tell me why you fell in love with Susie. Why did you fall in love with Johnny? And what were the things that you were doing in the beginning that gave Johnny attention or approval or support, and vice versa? And then that's a good place to start at, because a lot of times there's been, that ratio of 1-to-1, as the Gottmans talk about. It's so negative, and they actually kind of have forgotten sometimes. And so we got to get them back to at least having, that 5-to-1, as Gottman says, 5 positive interactions to 1 negative, to get them in that space where they are able to give me something in the area of attention or approval or support.
Right.
Yeah. I want to, because there's 2 questions here. I want to, you guys can see on your screen, but it says, Sharice is saying, so can you give an example of and spelling it out for men? And I'm not sure where she was asking this question, because I think it's been up there for a minute.
I think she was talking about being clear. Like when we said, hey, don't be vague, be clear. I think she was saying, well, give an example of what it means to be like really clear.
Okay. Well, so this is my. Oh, go ahead, Ricardo. Dr.
No. Go ahead.
Oh, I think when I say clear is, a lot of times we assume. I'm assuming you understand what I'm saying. So I think that's where kind of the active listening and clarifying, instead of just making sure, Susie, I heard you say this. This is the area that you would like to get attention in. I really appreciate it when you give me a hug and you say I love you, and really making and doing the sender receiver exercise. I heard you say this, and clarify, because I think a lot of times we make too many assumptions, and then this is just my experience, and then the man or the woman is confused. That's not what I said. I meant this. So, and a lot of times, because couples are already stuck in the mud, that takes some time to even, as who was the one that asked the question? Was it Veronica?
It was Veronica.
Yeah, Veronica. So some couples are stuck.
No, Sharice. It was Sharice. Sorry.
Veronica has the question, but it was Sharice. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes couples are stuck in the mud for so long, so I'll have them write a letter. That's why I like doing the exercise. And when I say spell it out, you can write it out, and then they can write back and forth, because sometimes the impasses have been there for so long, and can't even say a couple sentences without throwing a verbal grenade at each other, and then they're emotionally reactive. So when I say spell it out, I literally, sometimes I have couples spell it out, write a letter, tell them exactly what that might look like. But obviously, in an ideal situation, spelling it out would be kind of a sender receiver exercise, Veronica, where Mike, for example, might say, honey, what I really would like you to do is to give me a hug when I come through the door. That's all I need. And then he would say, Mike, I heard you say I'd like to get a hug every day. So kind of really clear communication.
And then I would add one more thing to that, Sharice. Like the other thing is, and please don't forget to check back. Hey, honey, you asked me to get a hug. Have you noticed that I'm hugging you more? Is it what you wanted, or am I not doing a good job? So you get more feedback to verify that you're in the right place. Sometimes without asking that question, the person's not attuned to note your effort.
Right.
But now with that question, now they can, really check in and say, oh, you're really making an effort. I didn't even, oh, okay.
I go like this, Dr. Atonte, I do this. I say home run. That's a home run.
Yes.
I say
home run.
That's funny.
Yes. And you're basically giving your spouse the cliff notes, able to, it's like giving you all the things that I need. So if you want to win or get an A+ or whatever in our relationship, this is the cliff notes. This is the cheat sheet. Just follow this, and it's going to be good. It's going to be good. We have another question or maybe a statement. Veronica said, a counselor who was a male told me once, men don't pick up on clues. And she's laughing face. No offense to men, but basically he was telling me that I needed to be straight with my husband and not use clues to communicate. I think I would agree, like to be pretty straight and transparent, so that they're knowing very clearly what you're saying. Like,
now there, Veronica, I do have to say I can identify because like my wife and I have both attended a function, and she'll come and she'll say, "Hey, did you notice this? And did you notice that? And did you notice this?" And I'm just like, no. And on further reflection, you're like, but you're right. That's a good point. So there is a perception, at times that we might not pick up. By the same token, though, I bet you I'm going to be a little whatever. This is a big picture and this is a generalization because obviously I'm sure there are women that are militarily trained and so they might notice this, but hey, did you notice that guy that looked a little shifty? Did you notice how many exits and, did you notice the threat factor? And a lot of times, no, I was oblivious to that, and so we're attuned at times to different things, but I don't want to minimize that. But yeah, I could see how there are times your partner's not picking up on some of the things that you might pick up on. And so that's why you want to definitely be explicit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And I'm wondering if Veronica agreed with the counselor. I'm wondering if the counselor had a good read on what was happening between her and her husband. I'm curious, Veronica. I don't know if she can. Yeah.
Yeah.
While they're working on the next question, can we deal really quickly with why people don't like being explicit? Well, that's not romantic. I want him to guess what I'm thinking. Isn't that what we see on the movies all the time? If he's really attuned to me, he's going to get it. Why do I have to spell it out? Why do they have to spell it out, Daniel?
Yeah, and I think that's a great question. I think it's probably a lot of answers for that, but I always think about the whole pursue and distance, right? Pursuing and distance, and like you're talking about the old cat and mouse chase, and there is some truth, I think, to the whole idea of the pursuit, right, and the excitement of that, and then we can talk about sometimes at the subconscious level we actually kind of want a little bit of that, especially if you've been in a lot of chaotic relationships and maybe you have an attachment style, like a disorganized attachment, where I'm kind of used to conflict and I need to have that. I get in a fight, then I make up, right? I think that's what you're getting to, right, Dr. Ricardo?
Oh, I'm speaking to like on the romance, on the romance novels and the rom-coms, like
Right.
the guy just magically gets it and he just knows it all,
Right. Right.
And so I think it can thwart or it can mess with expectations to where people are like, why can't you be like that? Does that mean you don't love me because you're not perceiving these things? I have to be so explicit. Why do I need to be so explicit? Is that a sign that you don't love me? That's what I wanted you to deal with.
Yeah, and I think too, right? Doesn't that come down to like the whole dopamine, and we talked about I think last week, the love hormone and oxytocin, and kind of that addiction to like and I think we kind of get addicted to that feeling, and we need to have that feeling, and then when it's not there, we try to reenact that maybe subconsciously, and to the viewers out there, in other words, is like we want that next elevated high. In a sense, when we're feeling that strong emotional pull of I'm in love, and I'm going to try to get it any way I can, even if I'm doing that at the subconscious level, if I'm playing a little game, I'm distancing myself, or I'm not being explicit in saying what I want, because I really want them to kind of chase me and try to figure it out. Because there is this kind of chemical release that I mean, it's not like there kind of is. I mean, it's scientific. Gottman talks so much about that, is that we need to feel that. I mean, God gave us all those great chemicals and those great feelings, but if we're using it to manipulate, that becomes really challenging. And I think, Dr. Ricardo, you're also talking about Hollywood and the romance novels and what we see. Initially, I always say, I kind of paint a picture. Johnny came riding on the horse, or Susie, in the perfect portrait of a princess, and then all of a sudden you actually see all the challenges that they come with after you've been with them for a year or two, and then that kind of pulls back the curtain, right, of that whole romance thing, and it really messes with people sometimes because they think this is the way it is, and so we kind of project that onto our partner and maybe try to go after that image that you're talking about, Ricardo.
Exactly. It can warp our expectations.
Yeah.
And make it so it's deranged.
Deranged. Yeah. Good word.
You're supposed to make love for an hour. You should be able to, and of course you're supposed to be able to read my mind also, and it's like all these expectations. It's like, dude, that's not reality.
Yeah.
Now I do want to give a caveat though. I do want to give it like you were touching on, Pastor Daniel. We should make an effort to be attuned. And this goes back to what Sister Atonte was saying in terms of get that PhD. Yes, you should be attuned to the person and trying to really pick up. There's nothing wrong with when you get by yourself, take some notes and write some things down. Because it is very impressive you remembering certain things. Yeah.
Right.
We were wearing this on our first date. Yeah, take some notes. Because it shows interest. It goes a long way. As much as we're saying be explicit with your partners, we're also advocating take some interest in your partner.
Yes.
Yes. Atonte, look at what you guys, look what Veronica said.
Yeah, she answered. I was going to say that. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you can. You want to read it, Atonte?
Okay. She said, I actually talked to my husband about that, and he 100% agreed and said he does much better if I just tell him straight out what I need and or want. Life got easier when I was just straight with my needs. So that's a touch point. That's great. That's great. We also have a question here. It says, okay, did I miss the question? Let's see. It says, should husbands and wives be totally honest with each other at all times?
Well, we'll go there, but I just want to acknowledge Deborah, who said, Doc, like you read my mind. I was about to ask the same question. There you go. Yeah. There you go, Deborah. I love it. Right.
Okay.
Now we can go to Mia, to my answer. All right, you're up first.
You guys can take a stab at it.
Yeah.
Should husbands and wives be totally honest with each other all the time? Yeah, they should be transparent as possible. I mean, the two are becoming one. So I don't see how if you're becoming one, I don't see how it's healthy in any way to keep things from each other. So it's very important to be transparent. And it helps you to stay connected and trust, because the transparency allows your spouse to feel vulnerable and comfortable, because you guys you're both practicing transparency. And so yes, that's my answer to the question. You guys take a stab at it.
Go ahead, Dr. Ricardo.
Look at
you. I see you processing over there.
Yeah, it's like because I'm thinking of the most men, you get the question, does this dress make me look fat? Right? Yeah. Now, Sister Tante, do you want to addend your response?
No, but well, I'm not. I'm not talking about those type of questions, right?
Oh, okay.
And to be honest, here it goes. To be honest, like, if you're asking that, ladies, you agree with, I want to get all the ladies, put a 1 in the chat if you agree with this statement. If you are asking, does this dress make me look fat? Guess what, guys? We already know the answer. That's why we're asking the question. Meaning you might if we feel like really cute and really thin and we just like the fit, we're not going to ask, because we already know. We can feel how what clothes look like on us. I mean, we have eyes in a mirror. We know like if something's fitting a little bit tighter or if it's just not falling just right. It's just almost like asking you is just to be like, okay, does it look okay enough? So, whatever. But so I'm not thinking of those type of questions because I already, if I'm going to ask, if I have it in my mind to ask my husband that question, I already know the answer. The dress, I'm looking a little plumpy in this dress.
Well, yeah. So my point is,
But then you think about it, but at the same time, you could be like, you're always beautiful to me. I mean, maybe, I still think yes. I'm not amending my answer. I'm still saying, because why would you lie? What are you getting from that?
10 toes down.
We already know the answer, and then we're gonna be like, oh, okay, so I can't trust you because you're lying to me now.
No, I mean, I just wanted to complicate it a little bit.
I want the two men to look at all those ones. You see all these women saying one, they agree with me. It's true.
Yeah.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Bree. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you, Therese. For validating. Go ahead.
I think you've been married as long as myself or other people that are 20, 30, 40 years. You kind of at some point it's just it can become brutal honesty. I think my wife and I are at the point where like she'll just say, oh, your gut's showing, or like before I interview she's like, you need to button up your shirt, you know what I mean? And so you just kind of like honest in that way. But I think I completely understand where Dr. Ricardo's coming from. It's a catch-22 because I also see a lot of men that get really beat up when they're brutally honest too. And a lot of times that comes through, I think, when we're just in those early stages of the relationship. But
yeah,
honestly, the truth is always the best policy. Unfortunately, with that. But then I think that one, like Ricardo threw in the curveball in there.
Right. Well, I guess my point being, you should be honest, not brutally honest.
The truth and love, right?
Yeah, you should be honest, not brutally honest. And I think when a woman asks that question, she's really appealing for you to demonstrate love despite that vulnerability. So I think so that's where we just want to recognize things are complicated. Things are complicated. And so we just want to say, okay, well, no, I want to be honest, but don't be brutally honest, is the idea.
Yeah. Speak the truth in love.
In love, yeah. And wisdom.
Wisdom too, yeah.
Yes. I'm just looking at all the people having fun in the chat. But just really, I want to circle back to your book. You have a chapter in there that talks about, because I think this is an excuse, is we don't have any money. What is your answer to those couples that say, you know what, weekly date nights are just not part of our budget? How would you answer that?
Yeah. I'm kind of, there's no excuse. I mean, I remember just, living month to month and, barely being able to, pay the water bill, or just, praying for miracles for food. But you can always, in that chapter, I talk about the $3 Starbucks date. Of course, Starbucks has gone up now. It's more like $5 or $6, but we can all get a couple, a few dollars, and we can go and have coffee, or we can go for a walk.
I was just going to say, a walk is free.
A walk is free. You can sit down at home and go buy a bag of popcorn at the store. And well, what if you don't have a TV? Someone might say, well, I mean, like you're saying, Atonte, we can go for a walk. We can go to the park. There's so many ways that we can connect. And usually, like we know, as couples are it's the reason couples aren't dating and they're not spending time together is because they're avoidant of each other. Because as we can go back to, if I'm having so many bad interactions with you, once again, one positive, one negative, one positive, it's like I don't really, it's not fun to see you anymore. So the whole idea of not having money is more of an excuse than not finding economical ways that we can spend time together, because we spend them. I talk about, even in there, the things that we spend, including myself, money on, and then we say we don't have money to take our spouse out to dinner when we're driving a luxury car and paying, you know, $1,500 a month for a car or something. Come on. And
Right.
I do that all the time. But there's a lot that I go into more detail on that, and it's, you know, there's always a way to go on it. There's yeah.
I'm a little bit more crass. If you were having an affair, you'd find a way to go on a date.
Yeah.
So in the immortal words of Atonte, have an affair with your spouse. You know,
Perfect.
you know, like you would find a way. You would find a way.
I have to use that one.
And
Put that in the book.
And what it drills down to then is, so what is the core thing you need in a date? The core thing you need is undistracted attention on each other.
That's right.
You can do that at an expensive restaurant. You can do that at Mickey D's. You can do that on your couch.
Right.
For us, it's not as much a financial restriction as it is time and energy restriction. And so, but what we don't miss is the core element of it, and that is undistracted time, focused on each other, connecting, bonding.
Yes. And that can look so different for everyone. I've kind of lost capability to see the chat, so I'm not seeing everyone's comments.
They're
right
having
now,
a
but
good
what I would
time.
like to do. Here they are, and I'm sad I can't see it, but you guys have fun in the chat. Put your comments and your questions. I want Daniel to say, and hopefully Amra can, our producer can catch it. So like spell it out like slowly for her so she can type it out and then put it on the screen where viewers can go and get your book, sign up for it's the e-course you said that goes with the book. Okay, so if you could give that website again, please.
Once again, it's Kin, which is KIN Academy, ACADEMY Academy.org. KIN Academy.org.
Yeah, that's easy enough.
And there's mental health resources there as well.
Okay, so definitely, hopefully that'll be on the screen here shortly, but please, org, definitely want you guys to go there and check that out because you can also get the book, but then you can do the e-course and other mental health resources as Daniel has just shared. So guys, if there's one or two more questions out there, we can take those and then we will sign off shortly. So is there anything, because I can't see the chat, so I'm not able to. All right.
I can summarize it really quickly. So you got a number of suggestions for things that you can do for date. So Diana was just going, just going all in. Candlelight dinner, picnic in the park, walk on the
that's beautiful.
Cooking at home together. That's a really, really good one.
Right. You got to cook anyways. You got to eat.
Game night. Listen, get this one from Charisse. Listening to a mixtape that your husband made you. Like, do you remember back in the day what it used to be like to make a mixtape? And I remember having a function recently, and I was like just choosing my songs, and I'm like, this is so much easier. But anyway,
How about this one? Play hide and seek.
Play hide and seek.
I love that.
That's funny.
That's really cute. I love that. That's really cute.
I get scared easily. My wife would scare me. I get scared.
The funny thing is, if you're playing hide and go seek and your kids come home or somebody, and they're like, "What are you guys doing?" It's like, "Oh, we're playing hide and seek." No, but that's really cute. That's very innovative. Those are great ideas, guys. And I love how you're thinking about these things. That's great. That is great.
Wow.
Okay, I don't know if we're gonna get the website on, but okay, if not, okay, last chance for questions, as Amra put, and if we can get the website up too, that would be great. But let's go over it again while she's still working on that. Just don't want them to repetition or deepen. So we want to get it into all the viewers. Please give your website again, Daniel, please.
It's kinacademy.org, which is KINACADEMY.org.
Overwork.org, and they did get it up there, Atonte. It's right there.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Amber. Sorry. It's just that okay, there it is. I do see it. Amber's probably like, it's there. Yes, thank you, Amber. Because of my limitations, I couldn't see that. So great. So you guys, that is the website. Please go check it out. The book, the course, again, the other resources. Definitely, this is not, guess what, Daniel? And I hope you'll come back. We'd like to bring you back when we're talking about family and relationship stuff, because I like how we all vibe together. This is great.
It's
This
been
is
fun.
great.
I appreciate both of you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, success to you.
You are welcome. I know the audience has appreciated it.
Yeah, thank you for what you're
Yes.
doing in the world.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carl. Thank you, Atonte.
You are welcome.
guys.
You are welcome. We want to thank
And just
all
to be
of you.
explicit, are you taking more patients? Are you taking patients?
I am. Yes, I am.
So that's great to know. So that, because we always have people who are having trouble, and you're, I guess, licensed in California.
Right.
Yeah, correct. I'm in the Bay Area. I'm
Beautiful.
located in Gilroy, California.
But you do telehealth. You do
Yeah, I do telehealth as well. Yes.
Beautiful.
They can find me on Psychology Today. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Beautiful.
yes, and be able to share all of his information. That's wonderful. That is great. So, and I just wanted to, again, thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Dr. Whyte, for being my co-host and doing this with me each and every week. And we are just thankful to all of you for showing up, people, and telling them about them even after we go live. So just continue to share about Mental Health Monday and all the amazing things that you're learning. And it is our goal and our prayer that the things you learn here, you will be able to implement into your marriage and help your relationship in that area. So until next time, we will see you here on Mental Health Mondays, and have a good evening. Bye-bye.